You've reached the Shar Hotline, your pep talk turned podcast. It's your direct line to unshakable confidence, unapologetic self-love, and the permission slip you didn't know you needed to show up as your true self. This is your safe space for a whole lot of heart, honesty, humor, and healing. I'm your host, Shar, a self-love and confidence coach, your compassionately candid hype woman and a woman of color on a mission to help you ditch the BS, cultural conditioning, your own self-doubt, or what society or your family says you should be. Together, we'll figure out what it means to embrace your true self, get out of your own way, set boundaries, and live a fulfilling life on your terms. Whether you're a recovering perfectionist, overcoming people-pleasing, here for the listeners' questions, or getting some actual tools, join me to feel seen, heard, and empowered. Tune on in and learn to love yourself first, always. You've reached the Shar Hotline, your pep talk turned podcast. It's your direct line to unshakable confidence, unapologetic self-love, and the permission slip you didn't know you needed to show up as your true self. This is your safe space for a whole lot of heart, honesty, humor, and healing. I'm your host, Shar, a self-love and confidence coach, your compassionately candid hype woman and a woman of color on a mission to help you ditch the BS, cultural conditioning, your own self-doubt, or what society or your family says you should be. Together, we'll figure out what it means to embrace your true self, get out of your own way, set boundaries, and live a fulfilling life on your terms. Whether you're a recovering perfectionist, overcoming people-pleasing, here for the listeners' questions, or getting some actual tools, join me to feel seen, heard, and empowered. Tune on in and learn to love yourself first, always. Welcome back to the Shar Hotline, and today we have a guest for Love Month. We have Karen Williams. Karen and I know each other from Hey Boo. She's a Boo sister, and we'll have some info in the show notes for you about that if you're interested. Karen is a relationship coach, a speaker, and an author, and she founded Karen Williams Coaching in Las Vegas, and she helps individuals and couples have not just loving and healthy, but lasting relationships through her own lived experience, and she'll get into that. She was also named one of Las Vegas' top women of influence in 2022 and 2023. I wanted Karen on today because we vibe, we get each other. But I definitely wanted Karen on today to talk about manifesting love if you're single, and when you're in a relationship, how to have it a thriving relationship without losing yourself, because it's so important and I don't think it's talked about enough. So Karen, tell the listeners a bit about yourself and your story before we jump into some questions I have for you.
Of course, Shar. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to sit down and just, vibe with you, chat about, we can talk all day about anything, but, as you said, I am Karen Williams of Karen Williams Coaching, based here in Las Vegas. My focus have always been, relationships, marriage, and, most importantly, how to get it's not just newlyweds, but engaged couples, the tools that they need to actually build a long, thriving relationship. And a lot of times we are raised in environments where that's not a possibility, or it wasn't a possibility, or we didn't have a good example to really glean from. And so a lot of us are learning these things for the first time. So, of course, want to be able to provide that. My husband and I have been married 32 years, and, we've been through so many different seasons of life, I should say, because I can't honestly say we've been through a whole lot of dramatic stuff, but it depends on how you look at it. So after 32 years, we have 4 kids, one of whom passed away. We also have 4 grandchildren. And so, as from that, you can tell that we've been through several different stages of life. And so, whatever information or experiences that I can share with the listeners to help them develop that healthier relationship, that relationship with longevity, because it's not just about being married. Yeah, I'm married 32 years, but is it 32 years of rocky, conflict, or, just that division? No, that's not what you want either. It's not about being married for a long time. It's about being married for a long time with, respect and love in that relationship.
Yeah, a true partner, right? That's so
Correct.
important.
Exactly.
So yeah, let's congratulations on 32 years. I know you just celebrated an anniversary too, and that's so beautiful and amazing. But like you
Thank
said,
you.
it's healthy and loving, not just in a relationship to be in a relationship and long-term marriage. Let's
Exactly.
back it up
Exactly.
to self-love and attraction. Like, what are the biggest blocks for people to attract healthy love and the right person?
Hmm. Um, honestly, Sharda, for what I've been exposed to, what I've been what I've been seeing, reading about, sometimes I do some, market research and, talking to people in different age groups, because you gotta understand, being married 32 years, the way we dated in the 90s is not the way people date nowadays. But one of the biggest blocks that I'm seeing is a lot of us, and I'm saying us, but a lot of people really do not know who they are. They don't understand their own values, their own convictions, the things that really make them tick, or what makes them get up in the morning, or what their purpose is. And so it's almost like they run into somebody like, oh, you might work, or they merge over, or their lives may merge with somebody else, and they're like, oh, this might work. I need somebody to help me with the rent, or I need somebody to I'm lonely, or I'm ready to leave home, or whatever those reasons be, those possibilities are, or those reasons are. They jump into those relationships thinking for some reason that somehow this is all going to work out, not slowing down to double check and see, hey, do we align in the fundamentals? Do we align in how we see the world? Do we align in finances? Do we align in just the simple things, like what are some of the things that you like? What are some of my dislikes? And am I willing to step into your world? Are you willing to step into mine? Can the two merge? Are there cultural differences? So all of those different things. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is um, having a relationship where values and goals align. And a lot of times we're not slowing down to even find out what those are for us, much more how they align with somebody else's.
Yeah, you and I have talked about, and I loved how you inspired my partner and I to write down our family and as a couple, like our relationship, our marriage, mission and vision and
Yeah,
values, just like a,
yeah.
a business or a company, right? And I loved that. And that's so true. I know you posted on Instagram recently about, like going grocery shopping. Don't go hungry. So you're going to just pick everything. It's dating. Don't just pick whatever's convenient and there. And I love that because my analogy that I often tell my single friends is it's like your career and your job. You
Right.
invest in it, you plan it, you think about what education and what skills you need to upskill or take, or what courses you need to take, and then you're not going to just take any job that gets offered your way. You're going to think about it, if does it align with your plan. And just
Exactly.
like that with dating and your family, you want to make sure it aligns, but people don't take that time. It's
Ex-
not just love at first sight. You meet someone on the street. It's like you need to get clear and have that relationship with yourself first. So I love
Exactly.
that how you inspired us to write our family mission and vision and values. So then
Yeah.
every decision we make, the boundaries we have to hold, how
Yeah.
does it
Bec-
align or not align?
or not aligned. Exactly. Because the thing is, I'm finding that people actually spend more time investing and researching in how to buy a home more than they do just marriage alone. There's
Yes.
there's more time spent. Okay, I know the type of house I want. I know the neighborhood I want it to be in. I know how much I want to spend, and all of those things. And then they're not investing the same amount of energy into their partnership or their relationship. And just like you said, it's like going to the grocery store hungry. You show up at the grocery store hungry, you're going to pick everything off that shelf. And a lot of times we pick things that are not good for us, because we want, in
Hmm.
that moment, we want to just solve the hunger. We just want the hunger to go away. And the same way in relationships, we just want the loneliness to go away. We just want that partner. We just want that connection. And it didn't matter. It almost doesn't matter who we connect with. But 6 months, 12, 18 months down the road, you're learning a side of this individual that you're like, wait a minute, what was I thinking? I know people that got married during COVID because of the fear of dying alone, or the fear of, I just don't want to go through whatever this is, because nobody knew how long that whole shutdown and what all of
Yeah.
it would look like. Nobody knew how long that was going to take, and here we are on the other side of it, looking back like, okay, we made some really bad decisions during that time. How do I recover from that? And that's real life. That's conversation I've had with people.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, Rossella and I just talked about it on the last episode was we need to be whole as an individual and not
oh
find
my
someone to
goodness.
complete us and then just have
Yes.
someone to complement us who,
Oh my God. Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. Was it, was a hand clap for Roselle, yeah, because, of course, I know Roselle personally. And so, yeah, we have those conversations, often like, okay, what is it that we're actually looking for in the relationship versus what we're looking for in a person? We can't keep
Hmm.
looking for a person, an individual. We have to show up fully, before we can first of all, have any expectation from anybody else. You know, the moment you hear somebody say, "Oh my gosh, you complete me," you need to have some deeper conversations. I'm not going to
Hey,
say run
those
right
posts.
away. I'm not going to say run right away, but take a minute. Like, what exactly does that mean? you know, because if I'm no longer here, will that mean your life is completely over? And I doubt that is true. So we would need to have some deeper conversations about that.
I'm
But
such a
like,
bitch. When I see those, I tell my partner, I was like, dude, do these people actually mean this? Or are they just like saying what the next basic bitch is saying?
oh,
Like I'm confused.
oh,
Like, cause like people say that, you complete me,
yeah,
right? And I'm like, do you know what that
yeah.
means? Cause that's really sad if that's true for you.
But see, the thing is though, and okay, as coming from my, from with my background, I am, of course, I'm always looking for opportunity to have those deeper conversations because you need to know what those things mean because it mean different things to different people.
Hmm.
So when you say you
Yeah.
complete me, it could, somebody that's been through some type of trauma. And if you have, you need to work through that. And then there's people that have, of course, the anxious attachment style, which they just have this overwhelming sense of loss. And you're like, well, I mean, that just throw them, I can't even get the words out. That just throw them into this space of, um, if I lose this person, then my life is over. Or,
Mm.
that sense of, the moment something, especially if some type of conflict arise in the relationship, they always see that it's almost like doom shows up first for them, but just having that sense that, this relationship could be over at any time. Yeah, they throw that out there so that that person, they want to, for one, give that person the idea that I cannot live without you. I can't afford to lose you, and that can be scary now for the other person if that person have an avoidance attachment style, because avoidance, they're like, hey, wait a minute, back up, and that avoidant will ghost you in those situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me think of it's been a process, but my partner and I are like, I don't need no man. I don't need you. He's like, he used to get offended. I'm like, no, but I
Yeah.
choose you. I don't
Yeah.
need you to take care of me. I don't need you in my life, but I want you in my life and I choose
Uh,
you. I choose you
yes.
every day, even on
Yes.
the rough days. But I choose you to be my partner,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's way more meaningful and powerful than like, oh, I need you. Because do I really want you
Yeah.
as a person, as who you are? Or do I just need you to, I don't know, help me with finances or something, or help me raise these
That
little
part.
monsters or something?
And
So when, let's say, you've attracted a partner and now you're dating, and I want to talk about the confidence when you're dating and how to not settle and to own your worth and know your worth. And how do you
mhm.
know when they're the one or not?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's such
Big
a good
question,
question.
I know.
Yeah, the funny thing is I'm in the middle of rewriting my couples workbook, and that was one of the questions that always come up for us is how did you know that, your husband was the one? And the short answer is you don't. You really don't know. But here are some of the things that you could look at to ensure that you are as close to the one as possible. Because you'll never know what an individual will do in the future. You just cannot guess. But what you can do to increase your chances of longevity is you want to start, for one, you want to find out, again, going back to values and goals aligning. How are you two aligning? Being clear about your own goals, being clear about your own purpose in life. First, you want to come to the relationship with your own goals. You want to be able to establish goals together, and moving forward, what are some of the goals that you have for a family if you choose to have a family? So are those things aligned? And we've talked about this before. When we get married, does that mean I'm moving away from my family of origin? Am I going to another city? Am I going to another town? Am I going to another country, for that matter? How does my career goals align with this relationship? Because if I'm marrying somebody that have no plan of leaving their community, and I want to take a job or, establish my career across the country, that's not gonna, that's obviously, that's not aligning. So is that a conversation that you want to have ahead of time? And is that a game changer? So finding out what your non-negotiables are, write those down. And you want to do that before you actually meet the person, because once feelings get involved, that can really redirect how everything goes. Now, all of a sudden, all of your goals and values and dreams are out the window because you're in love. But you have to decide ahead of time, again, what type of relationship that you want. And you have to decide and agree with yourself that you're not going to settle for anything less. So while you're dating, when those things surface, are you paying attention to the red flags? Are you paying attention to your blind spots? When the people that love you tell you, hey, look out for this or watch out for this, are you ignoring those things? Are you choosing to ignore those things? Knowing that deep down in your gut, you have that sense that maybe something is not right. Something, it's not quite, I mean, you know how it is even when friendships, there's just that something deep down, you're like, I'm gonna proceed with caution. I'm not sure what this is, but there's something about this connection that's not quite right. It's not quite fitting, So being able to recognize those things and hold fast to those things, during the dating process is super important, because that will determine if the relationship lasts or not.
Yeah, but people have to do that. Be aware, self-aware enough to get
Yes.
quiet, to listen to that gut
Yeah.
feeling and that intuition,
Mhm.
and then not just listen, but then to trust it. Because so many times, like you said, when you're in it and
Mhm.
you're in love and hormones and all those things,
Okay.
it's hard to decipher because you're in it. Versus if you see a friend of yours dating someone
Mhm.
shitty, right? Then
Yeah.
that's easier for you
Right.
to identify and call out versus
Right.
you
Because
being
you're on
in
the
it.
outside of it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And the thing is it's also of course, you're being honest with yourself, and then, being able to, and I said before, time is your friend. Time is your friend. So you could be head over heels for the first 90 days or the first 60 days, the first 6 months or whatever, but wait until wait until you're in different seasons. Wait until you're able to see that person in the different seasons of life, like grief and anger and fear and sadness, all of those areas, all of those different seasons. How do they navigate those things? When they're driving, does road rage show up, and how does it show up? How do they treat people that they deem to be less than them? What does that look like? How do they navigate those kind of encounters? And are you okay with that? I had a girl told me one time, she said, oh my God, I know he's an asshole. I know this, but he's mine. And I was like, girl, because if he treats other people that way, it will be only a matter of time before he treats you that way. And even if he doesn't treat
Hmm.
you that way, how is that okay with you for him to treat other people that way? And so those are the hard
Yeah.
questions that you have to be able to answer, ask yourself, and be able to answer them honestly.
Yeah, people have to have those difficult, awkward conversations with themselves, but then also with their partner, which a lot of people
Yeah.
shy away from. I've had a client ask me, "Oh, I feel such and such way with my
Mm-hmm.
partner. What do I say?" I'm like, "Well, have you told them?" They're like, "No." I was like, "Well, why don't you try telling them?" And then they're
Yeah.
like, "But how?" I was like, "Oh, exactly how you just told me." And they were like
Exactly.
appalled. They're appalled. They're like, "I can't say that. That would offend them." And I was like,
Yeah.
if you can't be brutally honest with your partner, your life partner,
Yeah.
like who else are you going to be that honest with? And like, I know
Yeah.
I'm a psycho sometimes, a lot of times with my partner, but like, he gets me, he knows me,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
so, like, I know I'm honest, but I was like, this is how I feel. Yes, couples
Exactly.
counseling and coaching has helped for me to
Mm-hmm.
work on my delivery, but, like, I still get it across. Maybe
Yeah.
sometimes it's not the best delivery, but I know I am safe. I know he's not leaving me. I know I can be honest, and then we can have a conversation.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
not everyone has that.
Because I
Um,
think,
was
Shard, a lot of us have not had, we think that every encounter has to be a conflict. We think every encounter has to be this knockdown, drag out. And so a lot of us were not really raised in the environment where we can have a healthy, hard conversations. And so we have the tendency to just push those things in the background, and, not wanting to address them because of the fear of how that other person will feel, just like your friend. Hey, if hard conversations it's a requirement. And what we're fearing, the fear of loss, or, the thing that I think we're really afraid of is, I don't want to be left alone. I don't want to jeopardize that. So loneliness becomes our motive to stay in that relationship. Well, if that's the motive, there's coming a day when loneliness is going to eventually take a back seat, because your happiness is going to overshadow that. It really will over
Mhm.
time. It will. And so having hard conversations, sitting down and having those conversations, it not only it's not only good for you, but it feeds your relationship in such a way that a lot of folks didn't even realize, because it takes you to a deeper level with your person. In conflict, on the other side of that, you've gotten to know this person so much more intimately than you would have not having that conflict. It really is. It takes you it takes you to such a deeper place, that if only we would just have that conversation, or sit down and talk to somebody else about how has conflict helped your relationship grow deeper, grow stronger, you know, 'cause it's a game changer. It's a game
Yeah, when
changer.
you're
Yeah.
connected and you have
Mhm.
effective, healthy conversations and connection and communication, then you have that foundation. So then you can weather the storm when you go through those seasons, those tough times through grief and loss and financial issues and everything. You have the foundation. But if you have a rocky foundation to start with, then you can't build
Mhm.
off of that.
Exactly.
Came up for me when you were saying that was, yeah. So I remember when I was dating and single, I was like, because I did so much of that inner work. And, for listeners, whether they know or caught on other episodes, like I did experience assault trauma before, and I had been
Mhm.
in a physically abusive relationship. And I did that work so that I got to a point where I would rather be single and
Yes.
happy and in full control of my destiny and happiness than to be in a relationship just to have a partner who's going to either actually harm me or emotionally, mentally harm me, and who just isn't a good fit for me. I don't need
Right.
that then, because if they're going to try to control my happiness, then that's not worth it.
Mhm.
But a lot of people don't get to that point because the fear of being
Yeah,
alone. And
exactly.
society and culture and family, right? There's that pressure and
Yeah.
like, oh, you hit a certain time, like a certain age, better start
Yes.
looking, better get married, right? And it's
That
the
part. That's
pressure.
the the social pressures are the worst. The social pressures
Especially
are
with women.
the worst, because, Thanksgiving or family gathering, and you got to have that conversation like, oh my God, here we go. Auntie so and so wants, she want kids, or mom want grandkids, or, all of those pressures. And we give into that, and we sacrifice ourselves, so that we can please somebody else. And no, you have to be able to stand your ground and again, have those hard conversations. No, mom, we're not going to have this discussion again. But as soon as I do find a partner, you'll be the first to know. Being able to say all of that. My workbook is really centered around how partners can have a hard conversation with themselves and with family members. And I mean, I give them like examples, like you can start out by saying, word it this way, because some people don't know, they just don't know how to even start a conversation like that. Again, for the fear of offending or, the fear of being disconnected from that other person. Yeah.
Yeah. And you posted this recently on your on your social was, when you're having a disagreement or an argument to just
Mm-hmm.
hold each other
Yeah.
or whatever it is for you. And I responded to that and I messaged you because I was like, yeah, I've told my partner that when we are having a disagreement or a fight, he can't yell, so we don't really fight per se. Like it's just me. But I was like, just put your hand on me, right? As
Yeah.
counterintuitive as that is, and you're probably like mad at me or I'm mad at you or both, it's just put your hand
Mm-hmm.
on me, like lovingly,
Yeah.
not aggressively.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And I was like, and then we'll work through it. We'll work through
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. The thing is, I think it's like you say, it is kind of counterintuitive. The thing is, what is even, we underestimate the power of touch.
Mhm.
We really underestimate the power of touch. And the thing is, a loving touch is able to de-escalate situations in such a way that, it for one, it not just de-escalate the situation, because it does, but it brings you back. It grounds you. It grounds you in such a way to remind you and I, is this argument we're having right now, is it worth it? Are we trying to get to a resolve? Am I just trying to communicate a point to you and you're not getting it? Or am I really just want to fight and argue with you?
Mhm.
All of it, you're having all of those conversations in your head at the moment. And because at the end of the day, you got to decide, okay, is all of this worth having, worth it? Is it worth having this, this blow up or whatever we're doing right now? you know and so the power of touch really grounds you in that way. It's really like you're doing yoga and you take your shoes off and your feet touching the ground. That's really what it does. And in that
Mm.
grounding process, or in that grounding moment, you slow down. Okay, you still want to get your point across, don't get me wrong, you're still getting your point across, but the emotions, the highly charged emotions in that moment, they get put to the side for a second. They get set to the side, and you're able to say, okay, this is what I'm really, this is the point I'm trying to get across. I want you to help me do this. I need you to do this, or I want to show up better, or, whatever the conversation is
Mhm.
or leading to. But you get to, make your point without disrespecting each other, and, or the other person feeling unloved or unheard, in those moments, because it's the the quick reaction, or the reaction that we're used to, that we've come accustomed to, is to pull away. Pull away and is easy.
Mm.
Pulling away is easy because, hey, I don't want to have this conversation. It's making me uncomfortable. It's triggering, but hey, pay attention to the triggers, deal with the triggers, versus
Mhm.
not having a conversation at all. Because trust me, 10, 15, 20 years from now, those things are coming back, and they're coming back like a monster. And at that
The
point, you don't know what to do.
vengeance.
You're coming back with a vengeance. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's been brewing. It's been brewing. It doesn't go anywhere.
Mhm.
It doesn't go anywhere. And that's why you have couples that will, um, one person have been processing all this time about their exit strategy. They have had enough of whatever this is, and they plan an exit strategy. And when they finally sit down with the other person and tell them, hey, these are the things, these are the reasons, this is what I'm going to do, they are like, they're saying, oh my God, I'm getting divorced, but I'm completely blindsided. That's when blindsidedness show up, if that's a word. But yeah, that's when people get blindsided, not knowing, hey, all this time this has been going on. This was brewing under the surface. It's like a volcano, and you just end up erupting. And nobody wants that.
Yeah, and even exactly, right? Because it's like it pents up that resentment and until you
Exactly.
blow up.
Yep.
And I mean, but it's a process, it's a journey, and people need to, like we've talked about, right? Have those hard conversations, right? Like my partner
Mhm.
and I, through couples counseling and coaching, was we learned, like, we even have a script of talking about, like, you were doing it, you're like showing the examples. It's like,
Yeah.
I feel this way when this happens. I, me, myself, and I, instead of like you did this and when you did this, like attacking. It's just like, this
Mhm.
is how I feel, because you need to also trust that your partner isn't trying, and their intention is not trying to harm you or like piss you off.
Yes.
They're just,
Oh my
right, they're
gosh.
doing their
Yeah.
thing.
Yes.
Hopefully,
Yes.
hopefully you trust your partner enough
Yes.
and you know that. But we forget that
Exactly.
within our
Yeah.
our frustrations, of course. And so, like, that script of and so yeah, my partner and I, not all the time, but we try to do like a weekly check-in of like what's
Yes.
coming up, what's worked, what hasn't worked.
Mhm.
Let's work this out
Mhm.
together. And when you were saying like triggering, I that made me think of, even like, yes, I tell my partner to put his hand on my leg or something, or you hold hands, whatever it is. It's like learning about each other and
Yes.
what works for you and what doesn't. So for example, one time I was really angry and I was like, I need to get out. Like, just need to go out for a walk. My partner
Mhm.
physically stood between me and the door.
Mhm.
And the moment I didn't know, but then afterwards I was like, that's very triggering for me. I do have PTSD. And I was like, that is not safe for me. Like, that does not make me feel safe. So next
Mhm.
time we need to do something a little different. Like, do not block me in the door, because that makes me feel like I'm trapped and I'm not safe. Right.
Yes.
So I think being
Mhm.
trauma informed and communicating with each other what works and what doesn't work for you is so important. And again, a
Yeah.
weird conversation,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, definitely, definitely important. But in that moment when you share that with him, that took you guys to a deeper level of intimacy.
Yeah, because he doesn't have PTSD and he hasn't had the trauma that I
Mm.
have. And
Exactly.
so he doesn't understand it. So it's been such a learning curve. And then, of course, I need to
Mhm.
feel safe and trust him enough to have these conversations. But then it also
Okay.
takes a layer for me to be able to articulate that, because it's just
Yes.
in my nervous system. So,
Yeah.
everyone has their own journey as individuals. So then when you come together, it's like, how do you explain and articulate that to someone for them
Mm.
to understand enough to empathize for you?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're talking about dating. These are the questions, these are the conversations that's supposed to be happening during the dating process. So when I get online and I see crazy questions like, if your date book a dinner at Cheesecake Factory, are you
Oh, I
going?
saw
Like,
that.
seriously? What in the world? And listen, those kind of things, just, you talk about triggering, those are the things that trigger me, because I'm thinking, we have a whole world out here of getting to know this person. This person can have a world of experience that they want to share with you, and you're focusing on Cheesecake Factory? Like, really?
I love Cheesecake Factory.
That's what for starters, I like Cheesecake Factory. However, the way the tone behind that is, that's not good enough for a first date. And just listen to that, because if that's not good enough for a first date, you are already setting that guy up to fail. You're setting that partner up to fail,
Mhm.
because now they they may not be able to afford anything besides Cheesecake Factory. And now you're telling them, the message you're sending them is that you are not good enough. If Cheesecake Factory is what you can afford, then you're not good enough. Simply because of
Mm.
this financial situation, which is subject to change at any time. Subject to change. Now, this
Yeah.
person could be bringing a wealth of information. It could be somebody that's going to medical school at the moment and cannot afford anything more than that. They could be in the process of building their startup. They could be in the process of finding the cure for cancer, for all we know. And you're choosing whether or not they can afford beyond Cheesecake Factory. to determine their value and their worth in your life. I use, beside, I mean, we can disregard our different politics, for especially those that are listening. Um, but I look at Barack Obama and Michelle's relationship, and those two, just reading their story and learning where he was when they met. Dude had holding
Mm-hmm.
shoes. He had a car that you can look down and see the bottom. Now he is so far from that world now to where you can't even imagine or picture him in that space, right? This is someone that their first date was to an ice cream movie and an ice cream or ice cream place, you know. And I was like, imagine now you telling somebody, okay, I want to take you to get ice cream for our first date. Those things are being judged as if to say those are that's beneath you. Now, people do whatever they want to do, but if you're asking me how to have a healthy relationship in the long term, with good foundation that will change the trajectory of your future and the future of your family going forward, that's not how you do it. That is not it. That is not the how, because you're compromising something for whatever that is. That, yeah, I want a 5-star restaurant on day one. Well, where do you go from there? If that's the bottom, if that's your bottom, well, how do you grow from there? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? A weekend in Paris
You
for
know,
the second date? It's like, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
those
I get you.
I know I'm really on a soapbox with that one, because it
No,
really
no, no, no.
it gets under my skin to see those. And then you go into the comment section and you have people that are, they're like, oh my God, so my date is not doing that. Or did I marry the wrong person because they weren't able to do those things? No. What are your goals? What are those values? What are those convictions? How do you plan to change the world with your relationship? How are you contributing to the social economics of your community and the people around you? How are you changing lives? How are you making the world better? Hey, are you showing up better? To say, hey, I'm going to make this world a little better than how I found it, you know,
One cheesecake at a time.
that part, one cheesecake date
Well,
at a time.
on the flip side, it's like, what if that person who chose Cheesecake Factory for the first date is testing you to see if you're a bougie
Exactly.
snob?
Exactly. How do
You
you
don't
know
know.
that this person is not, because I always wonder, like, what if this guy is a shareholder or part shareholder in Cheesecake Factory, or, in the parent company?
You don't.
You don't know that. He wants to go eat at his
You
own
don't know.
restaurant, but you don't know that. But you didn't give him time to figure that out. I
Yeah,
know
I
that.
mean, that makes me think of like my first date with my partner. We've been together for 12 years now, and we've been married for, I don't know, 7. Um, I can't do math. And on our first date, so we were set up on a blind date. I never met him before.
Uh,
And I don't know how to explain this analogy. So, like, I was in my younger self, I was like a kind of a snooty snob, and I went to like private school. I was like that city girl, and had a BMW when I met him. And he is from the city called Surrey, and it's like high crime, and it's like it's got a bad reputation. Like literally, when I used to go
mhm.
visit my partner when we were dating, it was like after 5 p.m. and my dad's like, "Is this safe to go there still?" He's like, "It's after 5. I don't know if it's safe." So this is where my partner is Travis. That's where Travis is from. I knew he's from Surrey. He was coming to pick me up on our blind date. I wouldn't even tell him where I lived, but I knew his sister, so I was like, okay, maybe it's safe. He comes in
Mhm.
a pickup truck. No disrespect to pickup trucks, I love them. But he came in a pickup truck, bald, shaved head, tall white dude in a plaid shirt, and I'm like, seriously, am I being punked? I was like, this is I dated the suited up dudes with those like
Right.
annoying bougie box jobs, like, and I was like downtown dudes, and I was like, am
Right.
I being punked? Like, is this a joke? And but thankfully, I had done the work, and I was self aware enough to be
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
let's just give it a try. 1 date, 2 date, let's get to know this dude, and it obviously
Exactly.
has worked out for us now.
Right.
But had I
Right.
made that judgment, we would
Mhm.
not be where we are now. A beautiful home,
Exactly.
beautiful life with 2 kids, and such a
Yes.
loving, connected relationship. But
Exactly.
had I
Exactly.
had that judgment on our first date, I'd be screwed.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
also for our first date, he paid for like a wine tasting thing, and I made sure I paid for buying the wine. Like I made
Oh,
sure I paid for something because I was like,
yeah.
from the get go, I'm going to make a stance. I'm an independent woman. So he knew what he signed up for. There's no deception there. But because from my own trauma, my own journey, I did the work and we met, I think I was like 25 or something. We met a little, I don't know, whatever late or early is, but like we were a
Mhm.
little more mature and a little later. So we had
Yeah.
done that work on ourselves already. So I knew I wanted to make a stance that like, no, you don't need to like pamper me or take care of me. Treat me right, but let's
Yes.
respect each other.
Yes. 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 And then, the first date thing is a conversation that, should be had. Like, what are some of the things that you like ahead of time? You have those conversations before. Because I advised this one of my client that lives in New York, she was like, I don't know what to even, I don't know what to ask for a first date. They asked me where I want to go and I don't know what to say. Hey, keep it simple, low pressure. This is New York. There's parks everywhere. Do a picnic. Do a picnic. Sit outside. Because again, you're just getting to know this person. You don't, there's no, for one, you're in open space, you're in a public space, so your safety, your physical safety is not in jeopardy. Then secondly, you have, a picnic. You're both bringing something to the picnic. Whoever want to bring the cheeses and the fruit, somebody bring the wine. And so you're contributing to the encounter. Again, there's no pressure. Nobody feels like, oh my God, are we gonna split check? Am I taking the whole check? Whatever that looks like, whatever. But, again, I think it's a safe enough date, or if you are
Mm-hmm.
both into fitness, hey, I have this gym class that I love. Let's join up and then we can probably get a smoothie afterwards. But any opportunity that you're able to have conversation, because that's what the first 4 or 5 dates are supposed to be about. You're getting to know this person, but somewhere along the line, it got convoluted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've talked about single, we've talked about dating, and I want to jump into when we're in a relationship.
Hmm.
How do we not lose ourselves, especially as the years go and go? And you and I are both mamas, right? Like, as you bring
Hmm.
kids into the picture, that's a whole other thing. Like, how do you not lose yourself? What are some regular practices for a couple and an individual? How do we
Hmm.
not lose ourselves when we're in a relationship and keep it thriving and healthy?
Yeah, I was actually just reading, it was a LinkedIn article, and this husband, he was sharing how, their marriage was just like heading down the tubes and really fast. And the way they were able to bring that back was, for one, scheduling a regular date night. And it's not just the act of date night. Yeah, we're going to do date night. And then you go and you both sit there on your phone. Well, that's not date night. But going out, committing to just being together, committing to having opportunity to connect with each other. That's, one thing, because you have to spend time engaging in your relationship, being there, showing up your full self. It's just as important to spend time with each other as it is to spend time alone. You have to spend time pouring into yourself, spend time doing the things that you like, whether it's a hobby or girlfriend's trip or whatever that is. Now, that doesn't mean you go on a girlfriend trip every weekend. Hear me. You want to be able to say, hey, we carve out some time to just disconnect from responsibilities and titles and just be you, just be Shar, just be Karen, just be Jessica, just be Mary Grace, just being yourself, doing the things that just really light you up. I know we were talking about Mary Grace. She was telling me how she took time to just color. Sometimes she just sit down and get her coloring pencils out and she'll just
Yeah.
color. Some people paint. For me, well, I'm not that type. I'm not the creative per se. I can be if God wants me to. I don't like to, knock myself down. But, for me, it's sometimes I just want to veg out on a series of something, read my favorite book. go to the gym by myself, just go for a walk by myself, hear my own thoughts, hear my own self think, because guess what? When I show back up in my relationship, I am a better person for it because I'm bringing ideas to it. I'm contributing to our friendship. I'm contributing to our marriage. I'm contributing even to my, when we were raising kids, even to my kids. So it requires the alone time is just as important. Now, some practical things that we can do if you have the super busy schedule, the kids are in basketball, the kids are in soccer. Well, first of all, you don't have to enroll your kids in something every season. It's soccer season. That doesn't mean they have to play soccer. Next time is baseball. You can alternate. They can have a free time on their schedule as well. But if you're in a space where, okay, you have multiple kids, and so there's multiple things going on, if you go to a game, you and your partner can sit together, have conversation, or how about you walk around the track, hold hands, touch each other, connect, especially those practices, because practice you don't have to be focused in on the practice nights. These are just practical things, guys. You don't have to be all in. And I get it. If you show up to the actual game, yes, you need to watch your kid play the game. But when we're talking about, practices 2 or 3 times a week, and you can turn that into a date night. Bring your wine and bring your, your ice cream or whatever, and sit there and connect with each other. How was your week, love? What was going on this week? How do you need me to support you this week? How do I need to show up for you this week? How can I, do things better? Whatever ideas that we were working on, how is it working out right now? Whatever that looks like, and use that time for that, instead of, you sit there and you complain about all the different things that's not happening for you. You say, hey, mom needs this much time during the week to just disconnect, and I'll come back even better. And I'm going to do just that. Being able to voice your needs, voice the things that are concerning for you. You want me to show up as a better wife? I need this. You need me to show up as a better husband? I need that. For some husbands, it's the video game, it's the man cave, or, whatever their thing is. Honor that, respect that. Don't barge into the man cave. Don't barge into that moment, that space that he's trying to, reconnect with himself and have those, for some men, they know how to, they do this better than we do. They'll have moments when they're thinking about nothing. If they tell you, hey, babe, what are you thinking about? Nothing. They really mean that. There's nothing going on up there. Nothing. They're not thinking about anything. You and I are like, okay, I don't understand. Yeah. Like, what do you mean you're not thinking about nothing? No, let them think about their nothing. You go think about whatever it is that drives you. But having establishing those moments is super important. And I know when kids come along, they have needs, especially different stages, of their life. But that's not all you are. Again, you want to keep that. You want to keep that part of you sacred, because that's what you'll have after they leave. They're going to grow up. They're going to go on and do their own thing. Plus, and this is huge, a lot of people don't realize this, but you're setting that example for them on how they will operate or live or walk out a healthy relationship. Yeah. As you know, they
Absolutely.
do. Yeah. They hear, how's the saying go? They learn more from what you do versus what you actually say. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we teach, even our eldest is 5, and I'm like, you have special time with mommy sometimes, and you have special time with daddy, but it's also important for mommy to have my own special time, and then mommy and daddy each have our own special time. And so she's starting to get that and pick that up, and because I would want that for her in the
Yes.
future as an individual, whether she's in a relationship or not, right? I want to show that by example for her. And I love how you say how to stay connected and communicate. My partner and I, cheesy as it sounds, we have a couples journal that we do every now and then, not like all the time, but every now and then we keep in one of our nightstands, and we do that. And so we're actually going on a kids-free trip, just the 2 of us with some friends, but kids-free, and we're going to bring our journal. And I was like, my intention for this trip is to connect with our friends, quality time without any kids around
Mhm.
and distractions, but also to connect with myself and to reconnect as a couple. And that's super
Yes.
cheesy, but we set that intention and we're going to
Mhm.
make that happen for each other because it's so important.
Exactly.
Because for the last 5 years of having kids in our lives, we've gone on our solo trips, like with girlfriends and boyfriends, and like guys, and like just separate,
Mhm,
right? But so
mhm.
this is our first time together, but because we do honor that special time on our own.
Yes.
My partner
Yes.
plays hockey and does his thing, and then I do, well, mostly like, a lot of reading and I do my thing, right? So it's important. And then we show the kids that, but we show ourselves, we respect each other and do that. And that's so
Yes.
important. I think people lose that, like I always say I'm Shar, I'm a coach, I'm this, I'm that, and then I happen to be a mom. And like the kids are healthy and thriving and well, but that's
Yeah.
just a layer of my identity. It's not my all. It's not my only
Exactly.
identity.
Exactly. And the key
Mm.
word there that you use is being intention. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
setting an intention and being intentional about it, all that, being able to say, hey, what is it that we want to accomplish on this particular trip? How are we going to walk away feeling? What are some of the things that we're going to, be intentional about? And setting that, because the thing is, what I do know about it, people say, "Oh, I don't have time to date." We don't have to, if you don't make time, you will never find the time, because the time is not showing up on
Yeah.
your calendar. You know, your Google Calendar is designed to suck all 24 hours because you see that little spot, there's a little space there where, oh, I don't have anybody scheduled. I remember showing up for an appointment early one day and I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm going to, this, I think it was like 30 minutes. I got to waste 30 minutes. And I was like, wait a minute, girl, I put my phone down and I just sat there and just absorb that 30 minutes. Just
Mm.
inhale, exhale, just like, man, this is okay. I can do this, you know. So yeah, no,
Mhm.
you don't have to fill every moment with something, you know.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love this. What a great conversation. Thank you, Karen.
Of course.
I'm gonna wrap it up soon, but I any last words for the listeners
Hmm.
on this topic that we talked about today? And also I like to ask my guests, I name every episode with the title with a song, usually like a 90s, early 2000s rap, R&B, or pop song.
Hmm.
And I want to ask you if you had to choose one song that's your anthem, what's Karen right now? Would that song be and why?
Oh gosh, yeah, definitely. Mary J. Blige, "Real Love."
Yeah.
That's because that song was really hitting when Rob and I was dating. That would, we go out and that song is always playing. And of course, that was the season when Mary J. Blige, first came on the scene, and to see her still doing what she do now, it's like yes, so definitely. Um, but one of the things that I would, leave with couples or anybody that's thinking about relationship, it's really not that hard. Yes, it takes hard work, but it's not that hard. It's I liken it to the hard work that we do in the gym. Yeah, it's hard work. The results are amazing though. When you get done, you feel amazing, you feel awesome. So I would look at it that way. Don't lose yourself in the moment of it. And most importantly, decide on the type of relationship you want ahead of time and do not settle for anything less. Do not settle.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much, Karen, for your time and
Of
your energy
course.
and for being a guest on the podcast today. Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Of course. So much fun.